Okay, this is compound interest. I'm not going to waste time with this. Okay, compound interest. What compound interest is? Compound is interest that gets paid on interest. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to take a minute and say this. Credit cards can be evil. They're a good thing. I have one. They're a good thing for when you don't have enough cash to pay for something and you have got to have it. It's an emergency situation. That's the only time I suggest ever using a credit card. Sometimes I do know people who use credit cards for, they pay for everything that way, and then at the end of the month they pay their credit card off and they get miles built up on their credit card, which gives them free vacations and stuff. That gives them rewards. But I suggest you only do that if you know you can pay it off at the end of the month, because what happens is it gets away from you, and credit cards can really hurt you. They can put you into a lot of debt really quickly and make it difficult to make ends meet. Yeah. So credit, when I say is interest on interest, that's bad interest. Okay. So let's say you don't pay your credit card off. They're going to charge you interest on that. And then the next month you don't pay your credit card off. Well, the interest that you didn't, that was accrued that month, is going to go onto the principal. Even though you're paying it off, you don't pay that much principal down. And then it just keeps being interest on top of interest on top of interest, and then you end up in a hole and you don't know how you got there. So be very, very careful with compound interest. Compound interest, if you put something into a bank and you're saving money, that's a good thing. That means I put money in the bank, I get interest on that. That interest that accrued that day or that month, whatever it was, that now becomes principal the next month, and I get interest on the principal being the amount you initially deposited, and interest on the interest. So that's a good thing, but the sad thing about it is when you put money in the bank like that, you don't accrue interest on a deposit that you make as fast as you accrue interest on something where you owe. Debt always costs you way more than savings does. So then savings gains you. So it's you need to be very, very careful. It's a good thing. Interest can be a good thing, but can also be a bad thing if you don't know what it is you're doing. All right. So this is the formula. Y equals A times 1 plus or minus R to the T power. It's plus when it's growth, and we think about that mostly with population growth. That's what we are experiencing, as a nation, is population growth, and then at a certain rate. So when they tell you at the rate we're growing, that's an exponential thing. And then T is time. Decay, that might be a car. A car is a good incidence of decay. When you buy a new vehicle and you drive it off the lot, it immediately depreciates in value. If you were to take it straight back to that person that you just bought it from, they would not give you the same money that you just purchased it for even an hour later, because it's a used vehicle at that point. So you have to be very careful. Cars decay unless they're antiques, of course. All right. So, or Y equals A, B to the X, we use B. B is just the 1 plus R or the 1 minus R. It's just put it together when it's put together. All right, so Y is the answer that you get. A is the initial amount, the amount you put into the bank or the amount that you pay for a vehicle or something. R is the rate, and that's usually, you write that in decimal form, that's a percent. That'll always be a percent. T is time. Okay, now, if you deposit $4,000 into an account, this is your initial amount, paying 6% annually, how much money will there be in the account after 5 years? Now, it's important to note whether it's annual or whatever it might be, whether it's annual, semi-annual, monthly, daily, hourly, whatever. Okay, that's important to notice. All right, so we have our formula. We're going to use plus because we've deposited money into an account. That means that money is going to grow. So A times 1 plus R to the T. So my initial amount is $4,000 times 1 plus, it was 6% that must be made into a decimal. Remember, you take 6%, you move the decimal 2 places left. That's 0.06 when you change it. So 1 plus 0.06 is 1.06 for 5 years to the 5th power. Put that in your calculator, just like that. Remember to use the parentheses. And that $4,000 in a year is now $5,352.90. Banks don't pay 6% interest anymore. I don't know if you've ever been in there and looked. Their interest rates are not that high right now. That's because we can get a loan at lower interest rates. And because we can get a loan at lower interest rates, when you deposit, that's going to be lower as well. I don't know anywhere it gives 6% interest. Now, maybe they're out there. I don't know where they are. All right. Some of them don't just use the word annually. If they use the word annually, you can just put this in here just like that. If they use another word, like semi-annual or monthly or something like that, then we have to divide by that and also multiply by that. And I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. The rest of this is exactly the same. N is just the number of times it occurs in a year. I will discuss, that's the one new variable that you see. Okay, let's use it. All right, semi-annual means it occurs every 6 months, so that's 2 times a year. Quarterly means it occurs every 3 months, which is 4 times a year, 4 quarters and $1. Monthly, how many months are there in a year? 12. Daily, there are 365 days in a year. I have seen, back when I taught business math umpteen years ago, I have seen them use 360 for a year. That's just because sometimes that's what they use rather than 365. All right, so $1,000 deposited at 6% for 3 years, compounded semi-annually. The more times they compound something, the better for you if you've deposited. The more times they compound something if you owe, the worse it is for you. That's why I'm telling you, credit cards are evil. Credit cards compound daily, which is horrible. Okay? There's not too many things out there that compound daily that you've made a deposit in. Stocks sometimes. That's a daily thing. Okay. All right. So 1,000, that's my initial amount. 1 plus 0.06. Now, it's semi-annual, so you need to put a 2 up underneath here. That's where the N came from. Now, my time, 3 years, and it's twice a year, so 2 times 3, which is 6. So I have 1,000 times, and I've just taken the 0.06 and divided it by 2. That gives me 0.03. So 1.03 to the 6th power, plug it in, and you get that answer. All right, $500 for 5 years at 8% compounded monthly. Now, I made this one ADK, I can tell, because I subtract. It should be an addition sign there. Okay, good. I knew something was off. All right, we want a plus sign there. I was thinking, why did I make that decay? All right, so $500 for 5 years, compounded monthly. 500 times 1 plus the 0.08%, the 0.08. Now, if it's monthly, we're going to divide by 12, but we're also going to multiply by 12. So this number right here is 60. You can put this in your calculator exactly like you see it, which is what I must have done when I was teaching this, because you can use your fraction button right here. Okay, and that gives you this. So that's how much that's for. The more money you deposit, the better for you. All right, $325 at 15% compounded quarterly. So $325 times 1 plus 0.15, not 0.015. You get into the habit of thinking you need a 0. You do not. You're moving the decimal 2 places left. 0.15. Be very, very careful. Don't make that 0.015. 0.015 is 1.5%, which is really, really small. All right, compounded quarterly, divide by 4. You'll also multiply by 4 here. And I don't have an answer. So, all right, so 325 times 0.1 plus, I'll show you how I did this in a minute. I'll get it up there where you can kind of see. You want to push that fraction button. All right, 0.15 over 4, scale to the right. Be sure and hit your parentheses. Raise it to a power. Your power button's right here. And then 4 times 6. You actually don't have to do that math. You can actually type 4 times 6 into the exponent, and it will handle it for you. And that gives us $786.32.